Welcome back again, guys, from Tampa Bay. Today I'm reviewing the Suzuki V-Strom 1000. This is a 2015. This is their basic adventure bike. Not as adventure bike as some other ones, more street oriented, but very large, very tall. This is not for a short rider by any stretch of the imagination. Tall seat, tall tank, tall suspension. Let's see how squishy it is. Pretty squishy, so that's good. Actually pretty darn light. I'm rolling it out here, no problem. It feels a lot lighter. This does take premium fuel. I'm seeing that big old warning right up there, if that matters. Even though it's a small quantity of fuel, it's about a 40 cents a gallon difference here. So I don't know where you are. Starting it up here. Well, first thing I notice is when I'm putting my feet down, these foot pegs are digging right into my calves. That's not very comfortable whatsoever. That would actually really bug me. Hopefully it makes up for its shortcoming there when we get moving. We have a manually adjustable windscreen, nice little shorty. Very thin bars. Got some vibration through the bars here at idle, not a big deal whatsoever. Nice clear gauges, large sweep tack, digital readout of the speedometer, gear indicator right next to it, and a whole bunch of stuff. We got a trip odometer, traction control display, fuel gauge, air temp like that, and engine coolant temp. Let's see what we got. Very light and nimble steering. Excellent control. You could putz this around the parking lot, around the city, no problem whatsoever. The dash is so far forward, it feels like a much bigger bike, but it's really not. I can tell this weighs almost nothing. Now, even though this is a 1000 bike, do not think of it in sport bike terms. It's got some oomph, it's got some torque, but it's really controlled. This is not a high revving bike. Let's go into third here. Decent power. Let's go into second. Better power. Not lifting the front end up at all though. So don't think of that kind of power when you see the 1000cc mark. Got some vibration through the bars. Let's drop it down a little bit. Now it goes into more of a thump vibration. There's a big difference between a frequency vibration, which can kind of make you numb, and just a, hey, you've got an engine moving underneath you kind of vibration. Those don't bother you. Think of V-twin. Very comfortable. Great turning. Just flops right over. Lots of torque. Let's go up into top gear, 6th gear. Finally, I'm in a group without guys right on my butt. I can do a little experimentation. So I'll do a roll on here, top gear. No problem. Plenty of usable torque. It does start to shake the bike, but it moves. It does its job. I'm going to gear down a little bit, go into second. Wide open. Definitely enough oomph. It is not a sport bike. It's not going to win any drag races, but plenty of power for anything on the street you would need to do, and most of what you would want to do. Excellent seating position. This is an upright, not quite a sit-up and beg position, but my back is very straight, extremely comfortable in the seat. It's got quite a bit of padding. It's on the wide side. I don't know if I mentioned it, I'm 6'2", 250 pounds, 32-inch inseam. Peg position when I'm riding is excellent. They are almost underneath my knee, in between my knee and straight down under my butt, so it's a very comfortable neutral position. Shifter peg is right where it should be. It's got a nice solid thunk. Transmission is excellent, very smooth, very slick. No problems there whatsoever. Brakes are very good. Right now kind of braking. A lot of nosedive, but that's to be expected in this kind of adventure, squishy suspension kind of category bike. So nothing unusual there. I'll tell you what, if these gauges were closer, if it didn't have a windscreen, if it were more like the GSX S, this bike would have an even different feeling because it's so small and light. It just has the illusion that it's got a big frame and a lot more girth than it really has, just because of that gauge cluster stuck so far out in the fairing. But the bike itself rides like a much smaller bike. Legs are decent position-wise. The tank is a bit wide. My legs feel like they naturally want to go in a little bit more. Just a little bit. It's just off enough where I notice it in my head, just kind of sitting here. I don't have a lot of natural grip on my legs. They could have sculpted the tank better. It's got just a bulge. It doesn't have a pocket for the legs. So maybe this bike is more, they're thinking for the off-road kind of stuff where you're standing on the pegs a lot more, and that really doesn't matter. But on the road, that matters a lot. However, the good thing is, because it is such an upright seating position, you do not need to be gripping the tank with your legs for support. So even though I'm not gripping the tank with my legs, I'm also not putting pressure on my wrists and hands and all that. I'm just able to flat foot at a light here. And that's because my legs are going a little bit wide to clear the pegs. If the pegs weren't exactly where they are and I could put my legs straight down, I would probably have a good inch clearance, but I don't. So bear that in mind. If you're under a 32-inch inseam, you're going to be on your tippy toes. And I'm in boots with heels, remember, so bear that in mind also. Let's see what kind of power it's got here in a second. Oh yeah. Good brakes, good acceleration. The front end just gets a little light. Now I've got traction control off, mind you, so this is all it's got as far as wanting to keep the front end down. It's not. It's up to me. So it's not popping it up, not even trying. It's just extending the suspension a little bit. Now as we turn this other corner, hopefully I'll be able to test it first, see what kind of full throttle pull it's got, or see if it wants to come up. I would imagine it'll want to come up, judging from the way it's acting in second. Neutral is extremely easy to find. It's got a nice slot it goes right into. Love the transmission. Absolutely perfect. Very slick. Gauges are very easy to read. I have absolutely no glare even in the direct sun back here. No problems. This here, all it does is control the traction control settings. We've got a readout between real-time mileage. The average mileage is reading 41.6, and that's on premium, mind you. So bear that in mind if that's important. Personally, I don't really give a crap about mileage on a bike. It is what it is. I buy the bike for the bike. If I care about mileage, I would be shopping for a scooter. And that's not to knock scooters. I'm just saying they are designed for fuel mileage. Motorcycles are designed to have specific performance in mind. Now the other thing is, this is a demo bike, so that's probably the very worst mileage you're ever going to see on one of these. I wouldn't be surprised if you baby it and ride it normally and you're not dogging it and seeing what it's got like I'm doing, and probably most other riders, you'd be closer to the 45 mark. Just taking a wild guess. Wind protection is very good. I have a little bit of a wispy breeze hitting me over the helmet. I don't have a stream of air. I can't tell. It's actually going over my helmet. Putting my hand in the stream to feel where it's going. It's going over my helmet. It's pretty quiet. I mean, I can hear the little bit of wind hitting. Obviously, it's not a big windscreen, but it is very effective for directing the wind over the top of you. Now, I am getting hot, I have to admit. It's 92 degrees out right now according to the gauge on the dash here, and I really wish this was not here because I am sweating in my helmet like crazy. I've got the visor down just for the video because it helps the audio, but if I wasn't doing a video, I would be having the visor up because I need some air. Goes into first, no problem. Very responsive engine. Good throttle control. I don't believe this has a throttle by wire. No, you know what? It must, because it has traction control. It doesn't feel like it, though. It's not quite a refined engine. It's not like their inline 4000, where it's butter smooth. This has some grit to it. That's the only reason I said it didn't feel like a ride-by-wire. It's got a bit of a jerkiness, but it's not enough where I would call it an issue. It's just more of character and the way this kind of engine is going to perform with you. It's got a lot of grunt. Go down to second here and just cruise around, see what it's got in the mid RPM range. Tons to get up and go. Certainly more than you need on the streets. Sound-wise, it's pretty diluted. When I give it wide open, I can hear, I'm putting the visor up now, it's hot. I can hear the exhaust. It's not very loud. Really can't hear much intake though. But when you're just cruising around, you don't really hear much until about 5,000. And then it's just general engine noise. It doesn't have a snarl or a growl or anything really characteristic. Just sounds like a general engine noise. We've got a 12 volt plug here on the dash. Good for charging a cell phone or a GoPro or whatever else. I use mine for all kinds of stuff. I put a USB adapter in it. And it's got a waterproof cover here. However, bear in mind this is exposed. Mine's in a glove box and I can shut a waterproof lid so I can actually have stuff charging while I'm riding. But this would be exposed if you had any kind of adapter plugged in. At least it's there. Also good for tire air compressors. Although you have to watch and make sure that your compressor isn't going to blow the fuse. If you've got numbers that work out, that can come in really handy, especially on a trip. Seats so far really comfy. Here at the end of the ride, no pressure points in my butt. I'm not sliding forward. I do wish it had more grip on the tank and the knees, but the seat is doing its job. It's wide enough. It's got just enough padding. It's got a small lip on the back before it goes up to the passenger seat. But this bike really isn't throwing me to the back when I accelerate, so you don't need that for any reason. It's grippy enough. It's just a pretty plain vinyl, but it's doing its job. See if we can do one last pull here. We're almost back to the dealer. See what first gear's got. Go, baby, go! There we go. Now, not really wanting to pull the front end up on its own. You could clutch it a little bit and get it to do it, but not quite. It just stretches out the suspension, and that's about it. Alright, so this has been the 2015 Suzuki V-Strom 1000. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.